Good morning, Salt Lake City. I would like to get started with a big shout out to Jackie because I'm going to talk today about generative AI and the future of financial health. Very important: gender, technology, and money. Very important topics. And we need a visionary like Jackie, who's brought all of us here together to think about the future of that trinity. So, we're going to talk about the fact that not only is it just a future issue, but today is a pivotal moment in our history because we have gathered here to tackle this topic. So I am going to cover all of these: gender, technology, and money. However, I'm going to start with a brief introduction about me. So I'm Shubhi Rao, and in this day and age, I'm sure if you Google me, you look on LinkedIn, look at different websites, you're probably going to glean quite a bit about my career. But what you're not going to glean is my love for balance. And balance is important to me. Why is it important? Because it's my North Star as it drives harmony. And really shows up in small things like my closet. Drives my husband crazy. But there is a taxonomy and a method of madness to how I organize my closet. You look at my home, it's not just what's on the outside, but every drawer, every cabinet, there is, again, some sense of order that makes sense to my brain. Or the way I plant my garden, right? So small things in life, but order is important to me. On the other hand, if there is no order, it creates a real palpable imbalance in my brain. And I'm not happy. And that's exactly what happened to me, and it really started to get loud when I lived in the Valley, in Silicon Valley, working for Google. I worked on really big projects, and I had the opportunity to work with some amazing, amazing humans. And for somebody who started her career in engineering and has always been part of technology in some shape or form, I was like a kid in the candy store in California. I was deep into that ecosystem, and it is very infectious, very contagious. It is amazing. But after all the excitement had gone away and I started to be in that ecosystem, one thing that really hit me was how much of technology, and the velocity of the technology, by the way, is far more than we've ever seen in our history. But so much of that technology is being built by men. And that's okay, nothing wrong with that. But the question was, this almost 4 billion women on this planet, 4 billion men, where is the gender lens? How are we designing products so that our voices, our needs are being reflected in the design of those products, those policies, right? The services. So, what happened to my brain? Code red. And that was because I started to recognize that a lot of the products that are being designed say man equals human. But why? Why is that important? Well, when we look at our history, so the other thing you will not see on the web about me is I love history. But I am no big historian, except I like to read history through the gender lens. And so when you look at everything from the Stone Age to even today, society has really created a construct that's a male construct, right? And we women have been trying to chip away at it, trying to blur those gender lines. But now let's look at the data. So whether that is a leadership, whether that's the pay gap, whether that is the wealth gap, right? We haven't been able to get to that balance. So when we look at leadership, and it doesn't matter, by the way, what sector we're looking at, whether it's the healthcare sector, the education sector, retail financial services, hospitality, services. These sectors are women dominant from a workforce perspective. But when you look at leadership at the top, regardless of our sectors, 70% of that is men, right? So we've been able to get to like 28%, and we sort of stubbornly stayed there. When we look at our pay gap, the median pay for women, again, stubbornly is stuck at that 83 cents per dollar. And then when we look at wealth, so I don't know how many of you know how many millionaires there are on planet Earth. 60 million, 60, right? So of that 60 million, how many do you reckon are women? 10%, 10. So we have a lot of work to do. But what this disparity also shows, and this is the numbers girl, she likes her equations, is that Y, which represents men, is really huge. And X, that represents women, is really small. And when you have such a big imbalance, you could probably say that X equals Y is a reality that needs to happen, but it is very far apart. And it does manifest itself in we just heard about the coins and the currency, but look how it manifests itself. Whether it's hand tools, whether it's treadmills, whether it's military equipment, policies, it does manifest itself where man equals human is a default. And this is the high stakes of staying silent. Now, let me give you 3 examples. Medical trials. So, there was a study that was done by University of Chicago and Berkeley, truly a groundbreaking study that, I forget now, but thousands and thousands of data points that basically said that when you look at the administration of medicine, women get higher dosages and also suffer from higher side effects. Do we know why? Because an overwhelming of medical trials are done on men, not women. Another one that is really important and also near and dear to my heart because I'm a gearhead is the automotive industry. In the automotive industry, they've been using car crash dummies for years. Historically, they had a male car crash dummy in the driver's seat, and then a female in the passenger seat. And this is what we did for years. Now, most recently, there was a change made. But guess what? They took the same male crash dummy in the driver's seat and just made it smaller. Right? Just smaller. And no regard to our anatomy, hips, nothing. Just a smaller version. But also that smaller version is of a woman from the 1970s when our average height was 4 feet 11 inches. So why would the AI age be any different? Frida Polly said this very well. She's the CEO of Pymetrics. She said, if you look at how AI is being designed, imagine if we took all our toddlers and had a homogeneous set of 20-year-old men raise these kids. That is AI today. So input really matters, right? So what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is simply a human quest to create systems that start to think like us. So what does that mean? At its very core, so if anybody talks to you all about AI, and if you just one thing you take away today from this conversation is data. Always ask yourself the question, where does the data come? Because that is its most important ingredient for AI is the data. Well, if we want to do it right, and this is why we say inputs matter, is that data, we need to make sure we understand where we're sourcing it from. We need to make sure we have the accountability that somebody actually owns this data and understands the data. And most importantly, it also needs to have the governance. So that's the part, great. So now we got the data. The next is how do you curate it? How do you make sure that this data is not toxic? This data is clean. Because if you just scrape all of the data from the internet, what happens? The internet is a mere reflection of our society. And our society, unfortunately, is racist, is sexist, misogynist, and I could go on, right? So if you just take all of that data and then you don't curate it, and you don't put guardrails, and you don't put moderation tools, you have a mess on your hands, right? And then lastly, once you have the data, how do you train those algorithms? How do you make sure that you train the algorithm to be inclusive? How do you make sure that those algorithms have the right guardrails, right? So this is why the inputs that will go into this technology, and as Jackie said, it's a technology that's going to permeate all aspects of our lives, is very critical. Let me share an example with you. So there is a big tech GPT, and raise your hands for all of you who have tried some. Okay. Oh, pretty good, really good, because I think globally only 8% of folks have. So this is a very good crowd. So on the left-hand side, we have the big tech GPT. On the other is Uplevyl Genie, which is really being shaped by women's wisdom. We asked both the models the exact same question. What is the basis of your intelligence? And you can really see what the answer is. The first is it's just publicly available text. What does Uplevyl Genie say? Genie basically says, I've been trained on content that I have received from women, experts, coaches, professionals across professional, personal, and financial lives, right? So one took years to build those data sets, and one was, let's go scrape the internet. And in time, we shall see how each one performs. So let me just touch for a second on what Uplevyl Genie is. Uplevyl Genie is being trained based on the wisdom of women globally. And 67% of its data set is diverse, right? These are women who have experiences and expertise around various domains of our life, our personal life, our financial life, our professional life, right? But in a very safe and very secure place. The ethos here is, let's not take your data and sell it to advertisers. Let's protect your data. But what we really need is wisdom, because one ripple of wisdom can impact millions of lives. So why is this important? How can AI enrich our lives? Well, Melody of Microsoft says that this economy, by the way, is the fastest moving economy, will reach about $3 trillion in the next 10 years. Next year alone, 100 million folks will be working in the AI space. On the other side, and this is what's the imbalance that creates the code red in my brain, is that there's a lot of rhetoric out there, a lot of literature out there that says 80% of the women stand to lose their jobs. And that's because either the new jobs that come in, we don't have the skill sets, or the jobs that are being replaced, they're not going to create new jobs, right? So, but this doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. We all can uplevel ourselves, recognizing where this new future is going to go and how we can actively participate in it. But we actively participating in it has to be critical. And this is what today is all about, in gender, technology, and money coming together. Because if we don't participate in this $3 trillion economy, what are we doing? We're going to really harden that male construct. That's a lot of dollars to give away. And the digital divide will be so vast creating a much bigger economic divide. But it doesn't have to be like that, because if we go on the other side and we become part of this, then those trillions of dollars can flow into women. So what I ask all of you is join us, share your wisdom. You will benefit from your wisdom. Millions of women around the world will benefit from your wisdom. Yes, download that QR code, because this is a pivotal moment in our history today. Don't sit on the sidelines. Don't sit in the back of the bus. Be like Rosa Parks. Get in the front of the bus. Well, actually, in this day and age, heck, drive the bus. Because we have a choice. You can lead or you can be led. Thank you very much.